Starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good day, everyone. My name is Tom Rieger here with Neocol Corporation. I'm the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer. On the line with me also is Ryan Lott, founder and CEO. And we would like to walk through a presentation and demonstration today discussing extending Salesforce with Box, artificial intelligence, and mobile for a better client experience. A little bit about Neocol to give you some context. So we as an organization have been around for almost 15 years and we operate across both sides of the pond. We are a system integrator who focuses on helping organizations transform how they operate using modern SaaS-based technologies, software as a service. We help become an advisor and a partner with our clients. And we work with all size organizations from the smallest to the largest. We like to bring a deep technical expertise as we came out of the on-premise ECM world and we have moved very heavily into the cloud world. It's worth noting that we are also an integrator for both Salesforce.com, Box, and other technologies you will see on today's presentation. This gives you some perspective of both the size of organizations, the geolocation, and probably a good context of the complexities of the problems they've had, just as we've worked with, again, with some of the largest of the large and some of the smallest of the smalls. But our mission is to architect the future of work. What we have done so far with technology over the last 30 years has really automated out a lot of what needed to happen in terms of maybe taking paper out of your enterprise or dealing with governance, risk, and compliance. But really what we want to help organizations do is figure out how to actually operate better as they are also better servicing customers. And as we think about the world today, the word disruptor and transformation have become the buzzwords of the day, because we see organizations that did not exist that many years ago who are changing our lives. Whether we think about Uber, Netflix, Airbnb, these organizations that honestly could only exist today because of technology and cloud computing. And I think this quote here says it all. When I read this on LinkedIn this summer, I think it really brought home to me what is going on in technology. Greg Carmichael, the president and CEO of Fifth Third Bank out of Cincinnati, Ohio, states customers embrace technology and their expectations are rapidly evolving. They want to bank anywhere, anytime, and they compare their bank experience to their last best digital experience, not to experiences with other banks. I think this is a very powerful statement. And in saying that, I would actually like to launch a poll into the folks on the webcast today to ask you, do you think your customers compare you to their last best digital experience, to Amazon, to Netflix, to what you may think from your perspective is the best experience that you have as a consumer? Is that what you think your customers expect of you? We'll give this about 10 more seconds. If you could please share your thoughts. I think it helps give us some context. All right. From that being said, I will close the poll and I will share the poll. I think it is very interesting. We all agree that this is definitely the case. So thank you everyone for that input. But he also ends the conversation around the following line. The only question is whether we shrink from it, ignore it, or embrace it. And if I think about some of the measures that he outlined in his article, he talks about how even he as the leader of a banking entity sees how technology is transforming how people transact with the bank, how they do mobile deposits, how they use their mobile device to interact with the bank, how they want more alerts and text messages and communications, and the growth of that is staggering. We within Neocol have just actually completed some research asking some of those same questions. And when the audiences that we surveyed answered, they agreed with the president of Fifth Third Bank that fully 94% stated that all or some of the time their customers compare them to their last best digital experience. But the next question in the survey that is even as compelling is, compared to your competition, do you think your organization does a good job at using technology to engage your customers? And my apologies, the circle at the top there should say 8%, but only 8% of the people said they were great. Otherwise, as you go down the stack, people started feeling less and less sure. I do want to highlight that within the GoToMeeting tool or within neocol.com is a copy of the white paper that discusses more about this research if you would like to download that for your use. Now, in the spirit of making sure that we are on topic here with the why you came today, as we think about how we perceive what our customers expect and how ready we are, of course, the next natural answer would be, well, we put in Salesforce.com, we must be doing something better for our customers. And I think we all agree that customers are important. Whether you are in a business-to-business world or a business-to-consumer world, customers are important. We all want that single view. There is this nirvana project in every company, probably called Customer 360. How do we get a better view of our customers? We also, I think, somewhat agree that the cloud-based CRM world is the way forward. In fact, if you look over here on the right-hand side, this came right out of Salesforce.com's latest quarterly report in terms of how much industries rely on using Salesforce. But we need to involve how technology empowers our organizations. Ryan, I'd like to now have you kind of step up and share with us a recent example that you personally have gone through.
Thank you, Tom. Hi, everyone. Ryan Lott, the CEO and founder of Neocol here. So one of the experiences that I had recently is I wanted to go through the loan application process with my bank based out of Illinois. And I applied for a small loan with them. It was a $1,000 loan just to kind of test out the loan application process. And what I found out is from the bank that I bank with, day-to-day banking, and I applied for a loan, and they came back and approved the loan and said I needed to go into the branch to sign some documents. And I'm actually located in Nashville myself now rather than Illinois, so I didn't have any trips coming up to Illinois, and so I was unable to go into one of their branches in Illinois to sign the paperwork. So at this stage, they said they'll have to come back to me and let me know the options. So it took a couple of days for them to come back to me, and when they eventually came back, they said, actually, we've managed to get an exception here, and we can get the documents FedEx to you. So as you can see here in the screenshot here, the documents arrived, and I then had to go ahead and go through all of these pages and manually sign the documents. And also what they asked me to do was to attach a copy of my passport as well. So I had to take a copy of my passport, had the signed documents, and there was also an origination fee as well, I think about $50. So as in my bank, I asked them if they could just take the $50 out of my account. Their answer was no. And then they said to me that, well, I asked them to go into online banking and make the transfer to them that way. And again, they came back and said no. The only option was for me to actually write out a check and send a check to them in the mail to go ahead and actually complete this loan. So as Tom mentioned earlier in the poll and this experience, for me, where I'm using a lot of applications like Netflix and Uber and Lyft, etc. out there, to be having this experience with my bank where it took them a few days to come back, and then they want me to go down a very manual process, it doesn't feel to me like a great experience. So one of the things we're going to demonstrate today is a more modern experience as well to show how this process could have been done. So that's my story. I just wanted to share at this stage with everyone. Okay, Tom, we can move on. And I guess the question that came up in my mind is, why am I going through this experience with my bank here? And if I look at it, what I'm seeing in organizations that we're working with is typically they have a lot of legacy debt in applications. So they have technical debt, they have applications which have been around for a long time. It's taken them years to get up and running. And say the types of projects we previously were involved in at Neocol before the emergence of the SaaS world, it would take a couple of years to get the technologies up and running, to get it integrated. And by the time it was running, the business would want to change the business rules or requirements, but the IT team didn't want to make changes because it took them 2 years to get the system working, and they were afraid they were going to break it. So, Tom, if we can progress to the next slide here, and this is just an example here of what would be involved in a typical IT system, from a loan application process. So we have many different layers. We have the servers, we have to worry about backing them up. We've got networks, firewalls, virtualization, operating systems. We have many layers. And on top of that, we'd have databases, web application servers, and then different systems, so content management systems, case management systems, line of business systems. And there's a whole lot of technology there and infrastructure that if they want to make changes to their business, they have to deal with. So this is why we've feel from going out and speaking to our clients, we're seeing a lot of companies that are stuck in these legacy business processes because the technology they have just doesn't allow them to be nimble and agile and change their business processes. So if we can move on, Tom, to the next slide here. What we're seeing now is the evolution. So we're seeing with the latest technologies in the last sort of 18 months to 2 years, the types of projects that we're getting involved in at Neocol, rather than these huge technology solutions from say one vendor where you buy a case management and content management system and have to integrate it to many other line of business systems. What we're seeing now is a new way of building out these business applications. So we're seeing microservices, we're seeing more functional APIs, the world of SaaS. We're seeing that our clients out there are either going to fail or succeed fast at something. They want to launch a new product and want to be able to see if that's going to work in the market or not. You have this try before you buy concept with SaaS. So rather than having to make large time-consuming decisions and implementations, now we can actually go out and try things. We can be device agnostic. From a security perspective, our clients are saying they want to be in SaaS and in the cloud now. Going back 2 years ago, there were a lot of challenges. We were seeing companies saying they were worried about moving to the cloud. What we're seeing now is organizations are saying actually the likes of Box, that this is their job, is to secure content. So they've got a much better teams, infrastructure, technologies in place to make sure their content is secure, as opposed to ourselves as an organization who's a financial services firm, and you want to focus on financial services rather than being able to secure data centers. And then this whole low-code world, so we can quickly build out and prototype these solutions and then take them through to production. So next slide, please, Tom. So this is an example of our innovation stack over at Neocol. So if we're going into clients, these are the types of technologies that we're working with. And as I mentioned on the previous slide, the likes of these functional APIs. So if someone wants to do an electronic signature of a document, we have DocuSign, or send emails back and forth, we have SendGrid, or generate documents from templates, we have WebMerge, Twilio for bidirectional text messages, form stacks for electronic forms, Slack for internal messaging, and Watson for enriching and extracting and getting some context around data. So we have these functional services, we have business services, which we're going to be seeing today, around Experian, for example, going out and performing credit checks and scores on people. We have the content services layer with the likes of Box, where we can store content securely and be able to bring forward that information where we need it in the right line of business applications or portals. We have Google Cloud, where we have Google Vision as an example to understand content and extract some value from it. DocParser also can go and extract value from machine printed information, the likes of Salesforce for case management, and then Wakatu, which is like the glue that pulls all this together. So Wakatu is a process orchestration system where we have a lot of these functional APIs and other SaaS-based systems. Everything is event driven. So for example, if someone completes an electronic form in FormStack, there's an event that happens there that's captured, and Wakatu can listen to that event and then go and take an action in another system. So maybe a form gets completed in FormStack, we take that data, we generate document in web merge. We then store that PDF in Box, and then we go and update Salesforce to say that the document's been stored in Box as well. So that's an example of our kind of transformation technology or innovation technology stack that we bring into clients.
Great.
So next slide.
So I'd like to introduce now the demonstration. So as promised in the invitation, and as we firmly believe in here at Neocol, is nothing starts until somebody can actually see it in action. So we created an artificial bank, a fake bank called Neocol Loans. And we've all seen these moments in modern advertising where if you just text a certain text value to a phone number, you will get a response. And in this case, we have a family here on our advertisement. And if you text a certain value to a number, you will start doing some debt consolidation. And so we have an example here where our customer, who we have so figuratively called Paul, will go in, and what Paul will go through is a loan origination process. Behind the scenes inside Neocol Loans, we have Leah, who's our relationship specialist. Her job is to make sure that all of these people who engage in this campaign continue through the campaign. So you look at them as being the ones who are motivated in seeing people get their loans underwritten. But then we also have to have the checker in the back, Casey, who's our underwriter. So how this is going to work is on Paul's mobile device, he will enter the initial text message. And behind the scenes, Leah within the bank will see this information pop up inside her Salesforce.com environment. Paul will then get another message asking for his driver's license, at which time behind the scenes things will happen. And all the while, Leah will have her Salesforce.com environment keeping track of all these people engaging in the process. As part of what happens after the driver's license is captured, which I will not take the magic away from Ryan and what he will demonstrate, we will then ask Paul for his social security number, because we need to make sure that as we're going through this, we have real people looking to borrow money, because this is real money. What happens then is behind the scenes, we will auto pre-qualify Paul based on the information that we will accumulate from some of our business services, and it will all be managed by Leah within her Salesforce.com environment. Paul, in his text messages, will receive a URL to go to complete the loan process, in which he will enter his phone number. He will get a text on his phone to go back in and complete the e-form with the rest of the information. For instance, how much of a loan do you want to take out? Are you employed? What kind of income do you have? Upon Paul completing the e-form, we now have Casey, our underwriter, engage to validate that Paul is worthy for a loan based on current campaigns and capitalizations. Leah is also informed of the effort from her end as well. Automatically, Paul, upon approval, will receive both a text message and an email stating, Paul, congratulations, if you could DocuSign these documents, we will complete the effort in approving your loan and transferring the funds to you. Upon this happening, with the DocuSign being completed, automatically within seconds, Paul will receive an email welcoming him to his new portal. Please go in and validate your credentials. And we begin the relationship with Paul, the customer. Now, I do want to highlight what you're about to see from Ryan. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is a live demonstration using live SaaS technologies. And there is no smoke and mirrors. It took us about 40 hours, 1 week of someone's time to complete this demonstration from end to end. And actually, some of that time was used to create that demonstration materials themselves, like the loan documents. And within our efforts, the technologies we've used had no cost or provisioning time at all. They were available on demand. So with that being said, I'm going to hand this over to Ryan to take us through the demonstration. If I can do my part on this end. Here we go. Take it away, Ryan.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Righty. So what we have here is, as Tom mentioned, we've got a few different people involved in this process. So right now I'm logged in here as Leah. So Leah is our loan processor internally. And I'm also going to share my screen here from my mobile device. Just make that a little bit bigger. So you can see here we have a number to text. I'm going to go ahead and send in loan to this particular number, as Tom mentioned. And what we're going to do at this stage is we're going to accept that message. And as you can see, it's come back straight away saying, thank you for applying for the loan with Neocol Loans. And please send back a photo of the front of your driver's license. Just to show you here, if I switch back to Leah, what's happened at this stage is we actually have a record that's been created. So a new lead has come in here in loan leads. And at this stage, it's very simple because all we have captured is the phone number and a lead status of a waiting ID. So if I switch back to Paul, what we're going to do is attach a photo of the front of my driver's license. Let me go in here to my photos and grab my driver's license here and send that in. Okay, so that's been submitted and still sending across there. But once that gets into the system, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and analyze here. So you see it's come back. We're going to do some validation on this. And we're using some Google Vision technology here to identify that document and make sure it's a driver's license. And clearly, as we can see here, I've made a mistake and it's not actually my driver's license, and the system's been very good and it's come back to me and recognizes this as a dog. So I'm going to have another go this time and look to upload my driver's license here. So I go into my photos here again, and this time I'll make sure that I pick the driver's license. Let's go ahead and send that. Okay, so same process. As we send that in, we're going to go ahead and do some validation on this and make sure it's a driver's license. Once we've identified this as a driver's license, we then extract the text from this driver's license, and we then utilize some additional AI type technology out there from the likes of IBM Watson as well, where we're going to look at this and extract certain information. So you can see here on my screen, it's picked up my name and says, thank you for submitting your driver's license. Please respond with your social security number. If I just make a quick switch back here over to Leah and just open this loan record, this lead here, you can now see that we've actually extracted the name as well from the driver's license and the address and also the date of birth. So this loan lead has been updated. And now if I switch back to Paul, I'm going to respond with my social security number here. Okay. And then at this stage, we've now got the name, address, date of birth of this individual. And we also now just being passed across the social security number. So what we do with this information is we take all of this and we call out through an API to Experian, and we're going to run a credit check on the individual. And we have some rules set up that if a credit score and some other factors are true, we're going to pre-approve this individual for a loan. So you can see here that that's happened in the background. We've now pre-approved the individual for a loan. What I will just show you as well, just why this is, before I go and move on to this next stage, if I just switch back to Leah again and open up this loan lead, a couple of other things I wanted to show you. So the status has been converted because it's beyond the lead now, where we've offered a kind of pre-approval on a loan. So we've created a loan object. I'll show you that momentarily. But some other areas I want to show you as well. So here within the documents, we actually have a copy of the driver's license as well. So this driver's license was sent and stored in. I just want to show that that's available, being pulled back seamlessly there from Box as well. And then the communication. So also from an audit perspective here, and as Tom mentioned, this 360-degree view of a customer from this one system, we can also see here all of the communications that went back and forth with this individual. So for example, if I open up this here, we can see this was a text message that was sent, when it was sent, and the fact that the picture appeared to be a dog rather than a driver's license. We can have also the email communication, phone recordings as well, and we can get very clever on like the phone recordings, and we can do sentiment analysis, so we can see if customers are unhappy or happy, and at certain stages in the phone voice recording there as well. So as I mentioned, we've now created a lead as well. So if I bring up, a loan as well as a lead. So if I bring this up here, we have a little bit more information now. We have the credit score that we've pulled back as well, and the status is pre-approved. We don't yet have any information on the loan that was requested because we haven't completed that, but we do have the personal details and again the documents. So I'm going to switch back again over here to Paul and go and click on this link here. So we have an application we built out here at Neocol. When I click on here to continue the loan process, so I click on this, it's going to ask me here for my phone number. So if I go ahead just to verify who the individual is, because at this stage we've just been working with them via a mobile device, and this could well be done on a web browser, on a tablet or a desktop PC or laptop as well. I'm just going to put in my details. And that's going to send me a verification code as well. You can see it's come up there. So if I click here, get the verification code, it's 0209. If I switch back and enter that code, so then I've verified that it is myself that's logging in here to continue the application. So what we're doing at this stage is we are going to pull down here. We have an electronic form, but we've pulled down the information that we already have stored about this individual from our Salesforce record. So I'm going to go down here and we're going to ask for a little bit more information. So I'm going to put in the email address for Paul. Okay, and then we have some specific information about the loan. So you can see the amount that was pre-approved there, how much we're applying for. So we'll apply for $1,000. We have things like the loan reason as well in here, whether homeowner or renting, source of income, who you work for. So I'm going to put in Neocol here. Okay, and then job title, and then how much you paid as well in each paycheck. Put that in. Okay, and then finally, it's going to ask me for a phone number for my employees so they can verify the income information here and the fact that I'm employed. We're going to go ahead and submit this form. At this stage, you can see we've now sent this back to Neocol Banks, who's going to look to make a decision. We've also sent a text message as well. So if I open the text message here, again, thanking me for submitting the loan application, and we'll receive a response shortly. So at this stage, if I look here at the loan record, we can see that the application has been submitted, the status has changed, and then we also have information about the loan that was requested. So I'm going to switch roles here over to Casey, who's our case manager here, so our underwriter. So if I'm coming and refresh this and look at all open cases, I now have a task to go and review the loan application here for Paul and Vara. So if I open this up, again, we'll see the personal details here for Paul. We can also see the loan details, so what Paul has requested and some information about him and his employment as well. And then we can see the documents as well. So here we can see the identification. Okay, here. And then also what we can do is, as we're the underwriter, we can actually see the credit report as well. So this is something key here about the security between Salesforce and Box. So from within Salesforce, we're bringing up and serving the right documents to the right people at the right time. So here, when I'm trying as an underwriter to make a decision, I need to view the credit report. So here we've actually done a live credit report, generated a credit report here from Experian, and then we've used WebMerge to generate the document here. So we have this credit report. So as an underwriter, I can go through this and say, okay, based on, we have the information as to what they've applied for the loan, how much we've pre-approved them for, we have their documents, can verify the identification, we have the credit report. So I'm going to go ahead at this stage and approve this to offer a loan out to Paul. Okay, so now once we've done that, what we want to do is notify Paul. So if I just switch over here, and let me just bring this back up. Okay, and Here we go. We now have a text message that's come in here to Paul saying that his loan's been approved, and please log into your email account to sign the contract. So we've signed him an electronic contract to sign. And at this stage, again, this could all be done for a mobile device. We could send a link in a text message to go into our portal again and log in and sign the document there. But we just want to show being able to work on different devices here. So at this stage, I'm going to switch over here to Paul's email. And in here, you can see this document's just come in, which is the fact that loan has been approved, and please electronically sign the contract. So here I'm going to open up the contract, and you can see we've pulled across the information from the loan record in Salesforce. So we have the information about the individual, how much they're requesting, what the rates are going to be, and the term of this as well. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down here and go ahead and sign this, and click to finish this. Okay. So at this stage, what we want to do now is, now that Paul's gone ahead and actually signed this offer letter, the contract's been put in front of him. So what we want to do is, at this stage, if I go back to Leah, and let's look at our loans. What we've done in the background is we have monitored the fact that someone has signed this document. And on them signing the document, what we do is take an action to go ahead and update the loan, and then also send a text message to the individual. So if I just refresh this here, and just go a quick refresh, we can now see, if we come in here, that we have the loan that was requested. And here we then have the loan that was contracted as well. So what we offered, we can see the status is complete. And in the document section as well now, as well as the identification that was originally submitted under contracts, we can also see the contract that was electronically signed here by Paul, including the digital signature there at the bottom. And just to finish things off, if I switch back here over to Paul, you can see Paul's been sent a text message confirmation that the loan's been complete, and now we can go ahead and log in to provide payment details for the loan. And that concludes the demonstration. One thing I do want to add as well here with this demonstration is we've done this all through a mobile device here, generally from a user perspective. And what we're seeing in our clients is that we need to cater for different types of clients out there and different ways they want to communicate. So we have the ability in this loan application process here to deal with physical paper coming in, people working through emails, working through web clients, or working through mobile devices as well. Okay, at that stage, concludes my demo, and I'll hand back to Tom.
Great, thank you, Ryan. And what really excites me about all of this is, in some cases, how we are completing what can be perceived as a very complex manual effort, but we've automated so much of it that you notice that Leah and Casey were doing only the most important bits as necessary from an exception perspective. And also from the client perspective, they were receiving information back as quickly as they were able to get it to the bank. And also Paul, as the customer, was getting it to the bank based on what was most convenient for him. In this case, he wanted to do it through his mobile device, so he could. Now, what's worth discussing here is what happens kind of behind the curtain. So there was, a fair amount of technology used in making this happen. So we used, and I'll kind of go from left to right just so everyone understands, Twilio was the engine for text messaging, both the text messages and also the secure delivery of any of the photos or photographs of things like driver's license. We use Google Cloud Platform to do recognition of the driver's license and to OCR that. We used IBM as the ability of taking actually the output of Google and doing some recognition and some natural language processing against the driver's license. We used Experian as the identifier and as the credit validator. There are APIs into Experian. Obviously, the point of the presentation today is to show how Salesforce and Box together can both manage the work effort within the organization for the employees, but also properly manage all of the unstructured information like the driver's licenses, like the contracts. We use FormStack as the e-form. So when Paul had to fill out the form with more information, FormStack was used to do that. You notice there was also intelligence of FormStack being pre-filled with information. And also FormStack as an engine is automatically able to work with a traditional browser or with a mobile browser. We used WebMerge as taking things like the output of Experian and formatting it in a way that was human readable, because it actually is output of very machine readable data called JSON. We then use SendGrid as our engine to actually do email communications out to Paul, where you then saw the references to DocuSign, and then finally, when it was all over, having that secure portal for Paul to then manage his relationship with the bank using an IBM Bluemix portal. But through it all, a lot of what really brought this together, kind of the glue, as Ryan called it earlier, is a technology called business process orchestration that was empowered by Workato. And then you still have to make sure that all of these pieces work securely together using an engine like Okta as a single sign-on and provisioning engine as well. Now, I know in my time here at Neocol, as we have come out with this architecture and this innovation set, that one of the first things people may have an initial reaction to is, wow, that sounds complicated, but it really isn't. And it's worth noting too, from a financial perspective and from what it takes to make this work, firstly, we were provisioning things on the fly. As I mentioned earlier, what we were able to do in creating this solution, this accelerator for clients, is we were provisioning each one of these as we needed them on the fly. Secondly, it allowed us to architect the possible from an engineering perspective, but also from a financial perspective. Because all of this may sound interesting, but the real question is, what does it cost? And I wanted to show up here a couple examples of what some of these different services run based on how much they are used. So unlike the days of having to back the truck up and provisioning a lot of technology on premise to do things, and you ended up buying it based on, in IBM words, it was PVUs or cores or sockets or something that was, how big of a machine am I going to run this on internally? In the cloud, you actually pay for how much you actually use. You buy by the drip. So you see an example of what Twilio costs to do text messaging, what Google costs to do image recognitions, IBM Watson and doing the natural language processing, and on and on and on. And it really does show the art of the possible in bringing an amazing client experience and making it available to any size department, organization, division that you may be part of. But most importantly, what it takes to start doing this is easy, and there is no risk. Success is part of the plan here. So as we look to engage clients in new ways and to give them an experience based on how they expect to want to engage with you as an entity, you noticed also in our demonstration of what we strive for is to make the internal processes, what happens inside the entity, as efficient as makes sense. We want to remove the menial and manual tasks. You cannot tell me people like to retype something into a keyboard inside Salesforce.com based on something that was emailed or faxed to them. So how do we make this be as a great experience, as an enlightening experience for the customer, as we're also bringing down your internal costs to start, develop, provision, grow over time. So these are some examples of what Neocol does. We talked about a loan origination and onboarding process, but you can also see where there's many of an example where you need to do digital intake. As time has gone on, we have more ways in which clients expect to work with us. And in fact, if you download the white paper that is right in the GoToMeeting right now, or you can find it on neocol.com, it discusses a lot of what we have found the marketplace is still having in terms of channels of inbound communications from customers. We talked about the portals, and you saw examples here where we had forms and messages and automating processes so that you could have a secure portal for a client to interact with your organization. Case management. There's a natural beginning and an end and things that happen in the middle. You have exceptions, you have escalations, you have notifications, you have audit trails, all the things that happen to have, for instance, this loan process be as repeatable as possible, be as secure as possible, but also, again, reduce the manual and menial efforts by the employees within the organization. And then finally, as Ryan showed in Salesforce.com as our system of record here, we have this 360-degree view of the customer. How were they communicated to? What are the documents that were involved in those engagements? What are the legally binding entities that define that relationship? And these gives you an example from from the very beginnings of helping you get an idea of evaluating what's possible, and then to very quickly move any of our clients from idea to prototype. Because that is where you can truly see within a very short window of time what is possible within your organization, again, in utilizing what you have for existing technologies today, and how we can bring in and architect them together to make the difference. How do we make 1 + 1 actually equal 2 or more for your organization? And then to help create from prototype to development to go live, how we can help you implement and adopt those technologies within your organization. And then there's also a natural progression or evolution of using this technology and keeping it running, because as you have each of these web services out there that we discussed earlier, each of them are evolving over time as well. So maybe there's enhancements you want to take advantage of. You need someone like us to just make sure the system keeps running, because the story doesn't stop after you go live. Then the hard work really starts. So now we would like to end the presentation with an offer to you. We would like to help organizations realize your art of the possible. So we here at Neocol would like to offer a half-day workshop for anyone on the webcast, or if you happen to be watching this as a recording, to see what your art of the possible is in helping you scope a conversation like this. Because the challenge now is not the technology, as Ryan had described earlier. The challenge now is, well, really, how do I put these Lego blocks together? These cloud services that I can now subscribe to, how can I bring them together to solve even that initial success in my organization? So with that being said, I'd like to open it up to questions, which could be done in the GoToMeeting tool there in the tool. There should be a little widget there that says questions if you'd like to submit any questions. And we'll take pause for a moment to see if there are any. Ryan, I had a question come up around the integration of Box in Salesforce.com. Can you describe how that worked a little more?
Sure, absolutely. So what you're seeing here in the demonstration is actually Neocol's own technology doing the integration between Box and Salesforce.com. So there are some out-of-the-box connectors which do provide some functionality to link Salesforce and Box together, but generally in a production deployment, when we're working with clients, we look to go beyond that, because we want to do things like show different content to different roles. So for example, if a loan processor's logged in to the system in Salesforce, they probably want to see different content from within Box than an underwriter. So we're managing that security and showing different documents surface through our custom connector that we have at Neocol.
Great, thank you. Someone else was asking about, does Box support integration with CMIS?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think what we're finding is that, I guess in the more legacy world, where we had your EMCs, Documentums out there, OpenTexts, FileNets, and SharePoint, that when we were going down that path, that CMIS was this protocol that just so everyone on the call is aware, there's this kind of common protocol you can use for accessing content. And what we're finding that is when we go to this cloud ecosystem, when we're using these SaaS-based technologies, We are finding that companies are starting to move away from that type of protocol. So, for example, if we're using line of business systems, it's very easy, and within a couple of lines of code or within an integration, we can easily integrate Box into line of business applications. So, in the old world, it was a lot of code and a lot of SOAP services, and difficult to integrate with these legacy systems. So they came up with this protocol. In the modern world, where we're using REST APIs, and there's a huge ecosystem of SaaS-based technologies or ways to easily integrate SaaS-based technologies like Box into line of business systems, we're finding less of a need to utilize CMIS and better ways of doing it.
Great. Thanks, Ryan. All right. Well, so I want to thank everyone for your time today. When you do exit the webinar today, you'll be asked a couple of polling questions that we would love to get your answers to around how you thought the presentation was, and if you have any additional questions for us. But we do want to offer a workshop, again, to help you prototype the art of the possible around what you can do with this new world of bringing technologies like Salesforce and Box together to solve your next client experience challenge. With that being said, thank you for your time today, and have a lovely day. Thank you.